Well, it used to be a lot better. Now it's shit. So that's that.
That is the exact answer I was looking for. Nice one.
Good. Okay, moving on. Next question. No, I mean that's what everyone tells you. I moved here 15 years ago, and people were like, "Oh, it used to be so much better." You know, I used to go to Bar 25. I used to go to VMF. I used to go to loads of different clubs. I mean, since I moved, I mean, I think I moved here on a Wednesday, and then the following Friday I played Panorama Bar. So
Whoa,
I never
whoa.
made it to Oscar, but yeah. But when I moved here, everyone was like, "Oh, it used to be so much better, and it was cheaper, and it was this, and it was that," and I was like, "Well, it seems pretty fucking good to me." So yeah,
Yeah, so essentially he's talking about Berlin. I think that's true. I think by and large, places like that are always going to be, they're always going to have like a very special place in your heart. You're always going to remember it fondly based on the time that you went and also based on your prior experiences. So if I'm coming from London, I think at the time that I first went to Berlin, maybe that was around the time that Plastic Peoples might have closed, which is one of our best clubs here. And it essentially closed down, gentrification, standard sort of shit that happens. And if I'm not mistaken, going there, you know, obviously, you know, and I think that also around the time the Hackney licensing laws started to get really, Hackney Council, sorry, started to get really aggressive with the licensing laws and essentially shut down that entire strip. So when you're going to Berlin for the first time after seeing the entirety of your scene basically decimated in, you know, in less than a year, when you go to a place where the clubs are open until, you know, the next day, 8 a.m., and you can basically stay out until Monday if you go out on a Friday night, you can maybe look back on it with fond eyes and think, oh my God, it was so good when I went on this particular day, especially if you go back following years and there's not as many clubs as open because the whole club's closing down. It affected Berlin too. So it is kind of based on what time you're going. But I think by and large, if you're coming from a place like London, living over there must be way better, especially day to day. Maybe it's not the best terms of like, you know, like beauty. It's a very ugly city, very dirty, full of graffiti, full of fucking garbage and, you know, for lack of a better term, junkies everywhere. But in terms of pricing, like, you know, you could probably get, for the same price you're paying for a standard apartment here in London for a one bed, you could probably get way more space, bang for your buck. You could probably afford to maybe have a studio. You can maybe even afford to work maybe part-time and still pay your rent off. So all those things are, if they're important to you, are probably a good way to probably go. But now, post-Brexit, you know, maybe not the easiest to go and live out there as it was when we were in Europe. But hey.
yeah. Everyone likes to kind of play that role a little bit, especially if you've been here longer. So it's better when I first came here. But if you're like a younger person, you move to Berlin. I mean, I can only speak on me, but you move from London to Berlin. You're like, okay, the club is open till it wants to be open. Okay, I don't have to pay 60 euros for a taxi to go one side of the city to the other. I can afford to.
By the way, that's a great point. That's something that you don't, that's something that I don't think I've ever done here, like club hopping, except for the time when we had the whole like Hackney warehouses thing going on. And we had the warehouses also in Tottenham area and maybe some things in the South. That was the only time you club hopped. And that wasn't really club hopping. That was like warehouse to club hopping. But you can't really club hop in this country, in this city, maybe not even in the country, because places aren't open long enough. So if you go to XOYO, if you go to fucking, I don't know, if you go to Colour Factory, you essentially have to stay there all night. You probably couldn't even, I don't think you could go to Colour Factory and Fold. It depends on when you left Colour Factory. But I think Fold even has a last entry is around 4. And I think Colour Factory closes at 4. So you couldn't even get there and, you know, club hop, which is really annoying. But when you go to places like Berlin, you can do it. You can go to like 6 venues in one night if you so please. Obviously, it's going to be tiring. And maybe it's going to deplete some of your nostril reserves, but it is possible.
To have my own place, you know, it's a great city. It's more expensive than it was. If you're, you know, some people might think it was better than better in the past than it is now, but I think that's often a reflection more of the person than the city, you know.
Right.
And
Right,
also,
yeah, okay.
things fucking change, you know. Some for better, some for worse, you know.
They fucking do. It's absolutely right. Yeah. And
whether you like it or not, motherfucker.
it's an unavoidable reality, unfortunately.
Exactly.
the older you get, the more kind of like scared of it you seem to be. What certainly happens to most people anyway. You have that kind of like underlying thing. It's like, oh shit, did things really used to be better, or am I just thinking that because I'm?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really important thing to kind of keep in your mind. It's like, was it that much better, or was I 20 years younger? You know, and I think I think a lot of people fall into a kind of rut where they're like, oh, it used to be so much better because of this, it used to be so much better because of that, and maybe it was better because you were 25, not 45. You know.
That's a great point, but I do think it's funny he's saying that because later on in the interview he kind of trashes Horse Girl, but I think it's more so a thing. It's just different, you know. It's just different. There's no point of comparing certain eras, especially in dance music and nightlife in general. Things are just different, and you either enjoy it for what is different, for why it's different, or you just gracefully move on. But this comparing, contrasting, these debates about, oh yeah, let it go back to the old school, it's never going to go back. You're never going to put that genie in a bottle. You're never going to rid the dance floor of phones anymore. These are integral parts of our lives, more so than they were in yesteryears. You know, enjoy those memories that you did have, and just enjoy the clubs for what they are now. And if you don't, move on to other things. But the continual complaining and comparing is just boring.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things that are like irrefutable, like, you know, the whole issue of like people having phones, people having cameras, stuff like that. That's, you know, social media. That's changed the world. That's changed everything in the world.
Sure. Yeah.
But also, you know, for bad in some ways, but then also for good in some ways, you know. So.
Yeah, I mean,
essentially, that's basically it. I personally think it's been a good thing overall, because I think it's ridded everybody of excuses. Because I really did hate the gatekeepery side of things when everything was about DJ polls. Now no one cares about DJ polls, right? They don't even exist anymore, really. Unless you count those DJ Mag ones, which are just like, I think they're AI generated. They don't even make any sense. But no one cares about this type of thing. So now you have no excuses. Now if you don't make it, it's just you. But essentially you've got your own booking agents, got your own PR, marketing thing in your phone. You've got the ability to get yourself out there, and you can essentially go from somebody working, you know, playing in your bedroom, all the way to playing on a festival stage. If you're somebody that just wants to get involved as a punter, you can gain experience. You can understand the scene. You can, you know, find out new artists, find out new sounds just from the comfort of your phone. You can find out about a burgeoning scene happening in Colombia, music being played in the Philippines, whatever, just from your phone. I have access to all these types of music that you could then crate dig, right, through Shazam, through Juno, through Spotify, get the tunes and then play them at your local parties in your small town somewhere. So now suddenly if you're living in Arizona, you can play some song from some artist in fucking Sri Lanka that you just found out about because somebody used it in a mix on social media, and now suddenly you're putting on this artist, and who knows, later on down the line you could be the first person in North America to invite that artist from Sri Lanka to play at your local party in your fucking small town somewhere in fucking Arizona. It's fucking sick across the board. I love that bit. We're gonna fast forward a little bit, and we're gonna see some comments that Spencer Parker had regarding Panorama Bar and the hyper Berghain. I like his attitude around it. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like this attitude around it. The ambivalence, the lack of sucking up to it. I think it has to do with him living there. Maybe when you live there, maybe it's a bit different because everyone because I imagine when you live there, everyone probably speaks to you about Berghain, right? Like people that visit, like myself, you probably go there and you're like, that's the first thing you want to speak about. When you live there, you don't want to speak about it. I think the same thing with people that live in Hollywood. If you live in Hollywood, last thing you want to do is have a conversation about Hollywood and the industry. So I get it. So let's hear Spencer Parker's very interesting opinion regarding Panorama Bar and Berghain in general.
My horrendous personal life led me here. That's it, you know.
So that gig that you played at P-Bar the week after you arrived, had you ever been to P-Bar before that?
No, from what I remember, I arrived on a Wednesday, and I think Matt said, like, go and check it out. I think probably Matt or Boris or someone put me on the list. I checked it out on a Friday or a Saturday, and then I was like, oh wow, it's really cool. And then I played the Friday after, which is not because I'm anything amazing, but it was just obviously I'm on records. Matt was doing a records party, and he was nice enough to put me on the.
By the way, big up big up the the records guy. I forgot his DJ name. Big up that guy. But that's fucking incredible, isn't it? He left London because of I think he said he broke up with a girlfriend, and he basically needed a change. He goes and moves to Berlin to go live with his best friend, who's a label owner, who he's also signed to his label. And just by coincidence, that particular time that he's there, they need someone to play, and he gets to play one of his first gigs ever when he's there in Panorama Bar. You know, one of those circumstantial things that just happen through happenstance and shit. It's fucking sick. I love that.
On the lineup, so it's I don't think the bookers of Panorama Bar fell down and immediately moved to me because I moved there.
Okay.
It's just a nice coincidence.
What was your initial impression? Obviously, you mentioned that you went to check it out. Do you remember what you thought of it?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a nice club, really cool spot.
Nothing more. Nothing more.
I love it. I love the chill nature of it. I'm out here fucking getting on my knees. I'm spreading my cheeks open. I'm licking Berghain down to the fucking shaft, going crazy on it, right? On a daily, if not weekly basis. And the guy that lives there, lives around the corner from there. I think he said at one point, plays there quite regularly. Yeah, it's all right, you know, decent club, you know, good vibes.
I thought it was really cool.
That's all right.
No, and it is really cool. I love it. I'm very honoured that I get to play there. But it's but yeah, it never had the hype when I started to play there. It's a really cool club in the same way that like the first few times I played Concrete in Paris, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And the you know, when I played Lux in Lisbon, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I was obviously appreciative to play there. But yeah, it never had the what the fuck, I'm playing there. Because the hype hadn't really built that much around it.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying that, I like, when did the hype build around it? Like, when did it become that thing? Because I mean, like, you know, going back to social media, it definitely had a lot to do with people posting pictures of themselves outside it after they played on Instagram. I
don't think so. I don't think that's true. I don't think the pictures outside of the club really made that much of a difference. I don't think so. I think if anything, for once, it was journalism. The amount of articles that used to exist before the boom, now it's not the same. But before the boom, there was so many articles written about that fucking club. So many articles about not like articles about how to get in there. Articles about the vibe, articles about the ambiance, articles about the people, the this, the that, reviewing the actual sets. Now it's just about how to get in, and some of these clickbaity videos. But I remember I used to read an article about Berghain. I think every other month there was an article popping up about it all the time, and I think that's what actually led people to wanting to go and discover it. But I don't think the DJs taking the picture outside the clubs really helped. I'm not gonna lie, because they don't really say much about the actual experience in the club. They just speak about, oh my god, how happy they are they played, the vibe and shit, but they don't really say much. It doesn't really sell it, in my opinion. I think the selling it came from the people that visited it, journalists that wrote about it, and people sharing their anecdotal stories.
Right, that must have been very significant. And so when did that happen?
I mean, I think it was the kind of the advent of social media that, I mean, I've got one picture of me laying on my record box outside with my friend cuddling me. That's the only picture I've ever taken after about 20 shows there. But I
don't think that's I guess because he lives there and he's a little bit, I think he's like pretentious in a good way. I don't know. It's not a bad thing if you play there to take a picture outside. I don't see the problem with that. But it must be like amongst certain DJ circles, it must be seen as a bit of a lame, act like you've been here before type of thing if you do take a picture out there. It seems like it. Because I think some DJs see that as like a losery thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If you've worked hard during your career and you've earned that spot, or you've been there as a raver a bunch of times like we all have, and you finally get to play there and whatever, or it's your first gig that you've played outside of your country, whatever the reason is you want to take the picture, I don't think there's anything wrong with documenting the time that you played there, or documenting every single time you play there, like my girl LL Snake, big up her. There's nothing wrong with it personally. I don't see why you should be snobby about only having one picture, because if you want to be snobby, you can only be snobby if you've taken 0 pictures. You can't say, oh, I've only done 1. You did 1 though, you know, you still did 1. So you still partook in a trend. You still lowered yourself to, you know, what everyone is quote unquote doing that you don't like, but it's only one. That's still the same as taking 17 in my personal opinion, but I could be wrong.
I think it was like, I remember like Facebook being a thing that everyone was using. And then I think, you know, there was lots of, and then like, just like most things, I guess. I mean, it deserves the hype. It's a great club. People like playing there for a reason, you know, for lots of different reasons. I'm not saying it's not great. I'm just saying that.
Oh, I love it. I love the attitude. I love how much he doesn't give a fuck. Or it's maybe acting like it, but I still love the attitude. It's just so refreshing. Because like I said, I'm the opposite. You know what I mean? I'm sucking on the knob. I don't know anyone there. I've never fucking played there yet. But I'm always fucking glazing it. And he's like, it's not that big. It's not that deep of a deal. Whatever.
The hype wasn't really there. I think that grew with, you know, social media. And then I think, you know, there's a really great book. I'm not sure if you've read it. I think it's called Berlin. I've got it here, but I can't remember the title. Berlin and the Rise of the Easy Jet Set Techno. Something like this.
Yeah, I got that, but I think I incorrectly got that in German, I think, for some reason, like a fucking idiot. But I have got that book somewhere in my collection too.
Okay. Yes. I haven't read it. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book. I mean, there's that book, and there's another book called Der Klang der Family by Sven von Thulin, which is also a great book.
that has been mentioned on the show more than once. That is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Sven's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, so I mean, journalism. Those books, I think, did more for the scene than I think the actual people posting pictures outside. Nowadays, I think maybe a lot of people are getting hip to Berghain because of the strict entry policy and all the get ready with me's. But I think people that actually go there have made other people want to go there more so than the DJs that play there. Because I agree with what DJ Python said on How Long Gone in the episode I spoke about on the pod. I don't think a bunch of people would actually go there for the DJs. I'm not gonna lie. I think I might be one of the few people, plus some of us on the Berghain fucking Telegram and the Berghain community subreddit. There's probably a small amount of us that actually give a fuck about who's playing. I think the majority of people just go there to go get fucked up or to say they've been there. You know, they don't actually care about who's playing. So I think the people that go there actually are the ones that inspire people to go. In my personal opinion, but I could be wrong.
Phenomenal DJ, phenomenal producer, and yeah, it just blows my mind that people are able to write a book at all, let alone a book that's really good and encompasses a very big subject, you know.
That one in particular is really amazing because it's all quotations, isn't it? They've basically just interviewed a ton of people and then just it's built this narrative completely through quotation marks without any other further exposition. It's pretty amazing actually as a piece of work.
There's another book. Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say it does such a great job of putting you kind of in the room, as it were, putting you kind of in Berlin in the early 90s in such a kind of evocative way. Do you know what I mean? It really,
yeah, totally.
It's an incredible job of that.
No, there's another book called Meet Me in the Bathroom, which does a similar thing.
Yeah, I've got that amazing book. There's also a documentary out about it. I think there might be a podcast series too, but the book is fucking sensational. So fucking good. It talks about the indie sleaze scene essentially,
which is all about the rise of like Interpol, The Strokes, LCD Sound System, all about that era of New York. And it's just nothing but quotations. So I have like James Murphy going, "We all used to go to this one bar, the Strokes are hanging out, everyone would get fucked up." And then the next quote would be one of the guys from the Strokes going, "Everyone was there every week. I remember falling out one," you know, just so it's all like it kind of like a narrative, but it's just quotes. But it's a really great book.
Yeah, nice. Why do we start talking about that? Why are we talking about books?
Now, about the hype of Berghain and Panorama Bar. I think it was things like social media, Facebook, stuff like that. And then I think with the advent of cheap EasyJet flights, cheap Ryanair flights, you know, people could fly. Yeah, people could fly there. I mean, I remember Matt telling me stories. I mean, I think the flight from Milan or one of the Italian airports at one point was super cheap. So you'd be in Panorama and you'd be dancing with like 10 Italians, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we live in Milan. We went out last night. We got the flight at 6 a.m. We got in here at 10, and then we're taking the flight at 3 p.m. the next day or whatever." So I think all of those things, that and social media, because it's, you know,
Yeah, I remember those times specifically, especially the cheap flights. Like there was a time I think I look back on my email actually. I think I saw a couple of times I went like around the summer, right, in Berlin when it's just really mostly kind of expensive because it's usually the warmest and nicest to go there and shit. And I got tickets for like £50, like a good weekend, or like a Friday to a Monday or a Friday to a Tuesday. I looked through some old receipts of Airbnbs and I got like one bed apartments in like Prince Lauerberg, Neukölln, Kreuzberg for like 150 for the weekend. Now you probably won't be able to find that. You probably be struggling to find a room in Berlin for those days, Friday to Monday, for 150. You'll be struggling to find a room. I found a whole apartment, one bed apartment, two bed, whatever it was, a whole apartment to myself for the weekend for 150. So those prices and stuff really did push people to go, more so than before. There's a few other clips as well that I want to play, but I'll probably play them in preceding episodes. But I really recommend you check it out. It's a really good interview. Spencer Parker's a really sick DJ personally. I've seen him play once in Panorama Bar a few years ago actually. Really, really good. Again, more of a housey, I'd say more of a house DJ instead of a disco or techno DJ. I'd say he probably leans more housey. Love his vibe. He's got a great social media. He's really funny, big, very charismatic, funny dude, and got a bit of a personality about him, bit kooky in a good way. So I recommend you check him out. And it seems like he's not up his own ass a little bit. You know how the DJs are a little bit, unbearable. He seems to be someone that you can kind of have a normal conversation with. So I like those type of people. So big up him. Please check it out. Really good interview. Spencer Parker on the phone. Berlin Changes in Horse Girl featuring Scuba.